afternoon and good evening. As I'm doing my Throwback Thursday favourite albums, to finish up, this is number 36, and the album is Aaliyah by Aaliyah. Released in 2001. This was Aaliyah's third and final studio album by Aaliyah, because if you do know about her background, she unfortunately passed after finishing the video to Rock the Boat. But anyway, I'm going to explain about this album. Anyway, with this album, Aaliyah had started to work on this album in 1998, rescheduled a few times, developing around her film career. She resumed in 2000, so in 1998 she'd done, 1999 she'd done Romeo Must Die, and then she was in Australia filming for a role she did in the 2002 film Queen of the Damned. So because of that, there was additional recording took place in New York and Los Angeles and other places. And this album was very different because the second album, which was One in a Million, was mainly done by Missy and Timbaland. First album was done by R. Kelly, as we know all the controversy behind R. Kelly and Aaliyah's career. And then this album was done as a mixture with Staticmajor from Player, and the others were a guy called Free Beats, and they were part of Black Rock Records, which was Blackground Records, which was the record company which had Aaliyah, and that's Barry Henderson had that. So Hankerson, sorry. So anyway, Timbaland also produced the main songs which are actually released. So we Need a Resolution and More Than a Woman and Try Again, Try Again was released on the Romeo Must Die soundtrack, but it was also put at the end of this album. So Aaliyah at the time, this album was, although it's an R&B album, it's got neo-soul, dance, pop, electronica, alternative rock, it's got Latin music, all sorts of things going on. Mainly digital production, mainly produced beats, but there's also the lyrics were mainly written by singer-songwriter Staticmajor, who was actually was part of an R&B trio called Player. He's also wrote for Aaliyah, for Genuine, Pretty Ricky, and a few others. And because he had a strong friendship with Aaliyah, this is where most of the lyrics came from. And it was mainly, he talking about romantic relationships and different stage relationships, listened to Aaliyah, what she was dealing with, and then wrote these out. The topics in this, mainly about relationships, is infatuation, eroticism, conflict, infidelity, identity, heartbreak. And with this, Aaliyah was about 21 when she released this, so it was quite a major of her maturity in her music. The album at the time received very high reviews, did very well. The album charted at number 2 at the Billboard 200, but sold diminishingly afterwards. However, due to they wanted more increase, they were still promoting the album. They did the Rock the Boat video, which in the Bahamas, which unfortunately she died in a plane crash when she was trying to run home to the US in August 25, 2001. I was at university at this time doing my music degree, and after the death, the sales of the album greatly increased, and it led it back to the top of the Billboard 200, and it eventually reached more than 13 million copies worldwide. So a big album selling for an R&B album at the time, which was quite unusual. Obviously people like Usher have beaten that now with Confessions and so forth, but at the time this was quite a big revolutionary thing. During that, it was very much his influence, people like Beyonce, Rihanna, The Weeknd, many artists, Anne-Marie, Jennifer Lopez, whoever you want to name. But Aaliyah, the one trouble is why this Aaliyah album hasn't been out on digital music is because they had an issue with the record company, and it's only since 2021 you can actually download her music or stream it. So with Aaliyah, she'd done the One in a Million album in 1996, gained absolute commercial success. She was only about 16, 17 when she released the album, and she'd worked with Timbaland and Missy Elliott. Are You That Somebody, which was a recording they put in a film, and it was also, Timbaland was doing more experimental avant-garde sounds for her music. She was also singing a lower register and minimalist style distinct from her vocally virtuosic female contemporary. So Aaliyah wasn't about over-singing, she was about using lyrics were more important and then being more softer. It also probably was seen more sexually and sensual, which was quite interesting. The third album, obviously planned for 1999, Aaliyah then did the starring role of Romeo Must Die in 1999-2000 with the song Try Again, which was very impactful with the production and then the song. And anyway, with all this album, with most of the lyrics written by Static, Static was part of Aaliyah's close group, and Leo used to hang around with Kadada Jones, Rashida Jones. So again, it was all part of that idea, and all these ideas were helping that. She was also interested in learning about the UK garage scene at the time. She was listening to a lot of music from the UK, and then that was also impacting her music. So when we're looking at Aaliyah's songs on this album, there's a couple I'm going to mention. The main ones which did very well was We Need a Resolution, which was with Timbaland production. Then we also have Try Again was then, but then when More Than a Woman actually came out after she died, and then Rock the Boat came out again afterwards. But these are probably the main key tracks. However, what people don't talk about with this album is actually all the other tracks, which are very strong standard tracks. So We Need a Resolution, very much a Timbaland beat, very much in this idea of the avant-garde side, coming away from Missy Elliott and Genuine, and probably going the next level with that. Also, Timbaland had been working with Tweet on Southern Hummingbird and some of the ideas of that, so he obviously improved that for Aaliyah. Kind of written about the same time anyway. Loose Rap, which is an R&B song with Static. Again, Static wrote that, and that was with Free Beats, which was the production crew. Rock the Boat, which was the last song she actually did a video for, that was which was in the Bahamas. That was again written by the same production people again. More Than a Woman, which was a Timbaland beat, very iconic for the music video, also the look as well because of her dress in the leather, also the choreography, which was also very famous as well within that video. Aaliyah was at the peak of her powers, and I think when she died, obviously it was a big tragic thing because there was so much more she could offer. I think that's why the album is such an impact, but it's the songwriting which is the strength. The songs, I think, are also this idea of that turning point, and I think when I was 20, I was in 2001 when she died, I was about 18, 19, and the songs kind of impacted me at that same time. So obviously what was going through my own life, not obviously on the level of Aaliyah, but also in relationships, doing a university degree, dating people, so forth. So I always found that album was very much sink or sank with me. Anyway, Never No More, great track again. That was produced by another person on the Blackground Records. Then I Care For You was written by Missy Elliott, and that was kind of produced with a couple of samples. Extra Smooth again was the Free Beats. Read Between the Lines, another great track. You Got the Nerve, which was like this kind of bouncy kind of R&B beat sort of feel, was done by Free Beats again. Read Between the Lines actually has got a Latin piano motif to it. It's quite interesting. I Refuse, It's Whatsoever I Can Be, a very ballady, which could also very much influence someone like Brandy, who then did the Full Moon album. And I think this album probably influenced her, pushed Darkchild to produce that album for her. I also will be mentioning Full Moon by Brandy later on in my list because I think that's a great album. Very undersold, I think, and underutilised. Anyway, those are the days. What If, and then it was Try Again was the last track, and that was the last track with Timbaland. Now the other reason why I think this album is so impactful is due to just some of the ideas, the actual production wise. I think the way it was going to go as well, and I think with this it's sort of where we know where they actually look at it, and I think the influence of that music where someone may have not been the strongest vocally, but the songwriting is excellent. And I think Aaliyah, I don't think ever gets credited with the songwriting. She never wrote songs herself, but as an actual artist like Diana Ross, Mould or so forth, she suits the music, what was written for her. And it is very strange that Static, who also wrote the music, is now actually a few years later, he died as well. It's very strange how that seemed to have happened. But anyway, with Aaliyah's album, for an album, if you want to understand R&B music, good songwriting, minimalist ideas, but also very, very strong melodies, this album I highly recommend. So Aaliyah, her last album, was done in 2001, very good, recommended, and I think in the last 23 years, I think you'll find it very hard to find an R&B album as good. There are pleasures, no scale can measure.